There it is.
I'm going to go ahead and like start the recording, but that's, I mean, kind of just par for the course, I think. You just go back to back to back to back to back, right?
Yes, I never
Yeah.
stop. No one ever
You know,
stops.
it's interesting. Steve and I had a conversation last night about kind of both of our roles, and I think you could probably relate to this as well. So both of our, all of our roles for that matter, it's almost like we can't really afford to have a down day. And I think that that takes a toll on your mental health, right? Because it's, I just did a TikTok on this a couple of nights ago. I was sitting in a conference and this lady said something that really resonated with me and probably perhaps with you, but it's like, hey, you know, we deal with employees and obviously you deal with patients or clients that are at their most vulnerable states, and we carry the emotional load of organizations constantly, and I just don't think people understand that. It's like, hey, you're the HR director, you're the director of a clinic, and you know, you got to be this tough person. And it's very much like, yeah, no, I have emotions too, and sometimes I think that impacts all of our mental health. And quite honestly, was one of the reasons I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk to you about mental health, not only from your aspect and what you do, but also kind of in the workplace overall. Because not only do you deal with clients, you also as a director deal with people, with you manage a staff as well. So from a manager standpoint too. But and that's one of the reasons I thought this would be great for you and I to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to go ahead and get started? Because I got stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Let me go ahead and like just want to say hello to my workplace warriors and welcome back to another episode of Dear HR Diary by Manage with Hart, providing you the insight you wish they taught you in management school, and sometimes you get it behind the scenes. I am so excited to have one of my favorite people guests and my very first guest on my podcast. I'm Shanna Large-Reusch. First of all, she has a fantastic name, Large-Reusch. I think that's awesome. Shanna is the director of substance use disorders, the choice program at Riverbend Community Mental Health in New Hampshire, of all places. So she's coming to you live from the East Coast, if you will. She is trained in motivational interviewing, which I thought was kind of interesting. I love that. Trauma informed therapy, moral recognition. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
recognition. It's a really interesting one.
Yeah, therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. Not only that, but she served as the co-chair for the New Hampshire Governor's Task Force. So she gets involved on the political side, I'm assuming talking about mental health, and serves on the advisory committee for the AOD/SUD policies with new futures. That's a mouthful. I asked Shanna specifically to join us today because, again, she has some tremendous insight and sees firsthand the impact that mental health can have not only on a workplace, but individuals that fight mental health issues every day. Oh, and did I mention she's my sister? So even better. My sister and I's careers kind of parallel each other, if you will. Me working in human resources and Shanna working in mental health or behavioral therapy, if you will. So we kind of sometimes joke that her patients have an excuse for craziness. My people are just crazy in general, which, you know, there's something to be said about that. But honestly, in today's workplace, and I think more now ever with the impact of COVID, mental health has been brought into a different light. I'm hoping for the better. And you know, we want to spend some time exploring health on employee well-being, productivity, and overall organizational kind of success. But first, for you statistic people, because I know there are those people that like numbers. I really don't, but I think sometimes numbers really tell a good story. According to the World Health Organization, mental disorders are a leading cause of disability worldwide, affecting an estimated 264 million people. That's a staggering statistic. In the workplace, mental health issues are prevalent, with studies indicating that 1 in 6 workers experience a mental health condition. Quite honestly, I read a lot. I'm getting my master's degree in organizational leadership and have read a lot of stuff. And most recently, I read an article from the Society of Human Resource Management that 34% of workers say their mental health is declining. So if you think about your own staff or the people that you work with, like realistically, over 1 in 4. And to me, we have at my current organization, we have about 260 employees. And so 30% is a big chunk. So employers, if you're wondering how this impacts it, it's worsening mental health, which is causing decreased employee engagement. So I'll include that article in the show notes in case you all want to take a look at it and read through that. So with that said, Shanna, in your experience, which I know you've been doing this for a long time, quite honestly.
Feels like forever.
Yeah, I know. Like what, 15, 16, 17, yeah. 18 years? I don't know. Long time.
Yeah. I'm not going to
a
stop
long
you.
Time. She's like forever.
Yeah.
So in your experience, what are some common signs and symptoms of mental health issues that maybe managers or maybe something you pay attention to, or even HR professionals should be aware of with their team members?
Well, first, I just want to start with thanks for having me, because
absolutely
this is very exciting. So exciting for you and exciting for everyone else, that there's a voice out there to talk about these things. And I do love that you chose mental health as one of the first topics, because quite frankly, it is rough out here, and I think we all know that. The workplace.
do you like? To add to that, honestly, one of the reasons that I picked it, and I know you and I talked before, is we're going into a really, really hectic time of the year, right? So holidays are coming, and so there's just so much pressure just on a mental side when it comes to the holidays and the pressures that people put on themselves, but then that spills over into the workplace.
Right. Coming out of COVID has been definitely difficult. My staff, because we deal with clients in severe addiction, have been here the whole time. We didn't close our doors and move to Zoom, although I think Zoom therapy has its own issues as well, having being isolated a little bit more. But we not only had to deal with the disease of COVID being out there, but clients who were dying because they couldn't get the resources that they needed. And so that played a huge impact. So keeping our doors open was a huge deal for us during the COVID time. And some would say it's still COVID time, but it really has been a big deal to keep our clients as safe as possible, while therefore keeping our staff as safe as possible, which then in turn makes HR. I don't work in HR, but like you said, I run the program and I'm in a building all by myself. So I am HR for my building. It puts a lot of pressure on us. And I remember at the very beginning and putting the mask on, and my first thought was, I am not okay. And if I'm not okay, what is my staff like? How are they dealing with this? So some of the things that you can really notice when a client's not okay, in our world, we talk about it because most of my staff are licensed mental health counselors, or something called a certified recovery support worker, which is a peer, someone with lived experience in addiction. And so we have gone through all the trainings, and we know we need to get this off of our chest. But I still see when someone is declining mentally, maybe because I have a little bit more empathy for that, or I'm very empathic in the sense that if someone walks in the door, I can tell that they're off. They're not feeling great. Maybe they don't have a smile, but some of the easy stuff is like fatigue, like really seeing someone looking tired. They like normally respond to things very quickly, but now they're like, you have to ask them several times, or they're coming in late to work when normally they're very punctual for work. So obviously this doesn't work for people that are always late for work, but if it's a person who is late and you're just like, this seems very odd for this person. You can also notice that we don't have an area to eat lunch together, or we do, but no one goes to it. But if you do have an area like that and you notice that person's not joining in anymore, they're beginning to isolate a lot. They maybe start eating at their desk, although I eat at my desk all the time. I'm not, but they begin to isolate. They're calling out a lot.
Yeah.
But you see a pattern. I notice it a lot because I look at people's schedules and I'm like, oh, look at that. They call out the Thursday before payday. What's that all
Oh
about?
yeah.
And or the Monday after a long weekend, or different patterns. And then also lots of outside appointments all of a sudden. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
it's not that, you're not questioning that they have to go see a doctor, but it's like, what is their doctor every week? Like what's going
Yeah.
on? And you should ask anyway. It doesn't hurt to ask somebody. I'm sure HR professionals are like, we don't have to ask, but I'm like, but ask, because in the long run, just by inquiring or saying something to someone helps someone know that you care. They may not tell you anything, but they may just be like, oh, I got stuff and let's sit down and talk. And so,
Yeah.
just being open to that and going with your gut, I think is probably one of the biggest things. Because if you sense something is off, it probably is. So
100%. I like the patterns, right? So it's, and not just from an HR person, because obviously there's 200 and some odd people that I can't keep up with on a daily basis. So coming at it from not just an HR standpoint, but from a manager standpoint, you bring up a really good point. It's like, notice those patterns. If you have, Susie that's very punctual and now mysteriously is not here all the time, or she's calling out frequently, or as managers, particularly because you manage people and outside of like your clients, you see that on a day-to-day basis with your own employees. So I think that's a very valid point when you're like, look at your employees. And right now, going into the holidays is an incredibly important time to pay attention to people's behavior. And, it's not intrusive to ask people if they're okay. And I quite honestly think people worry about that. I think they're like, well, can I really ask them if they're okay? Or can I ask them what's going on? Oh my gosh. Yeah. You have to ask. And
right.
even from, you don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but your point about, hey, just even really noticing and asking people if they're okay, I think brings a world of difference. It's, you just never know what is going on outside of the walls in your workplace or in someone else's own life. And I think it's important that we ask. And there's that sense of caring and that sense of transparency that comes with that. I mean, you don't know. Unfortunately, in my line of work, as your line of work, you've had to deal with some crises where people, maybe didn't take the time to get to know employees or get to know clients. And unfortunately, on the other end of the side, something happens like an employee takes their own life, or someone on obviously you have clients that have substance abuse and maybe they turn to their addiction and something tragic happens. So I think it's just really taking, I mean it's just a few minutes to have conversations with
Right.
people and just check in.
Right. Well, and I think something else I would also add to that is watch their reactions to each
Mm,
other or their reactions about topics. I mean, for us, I see it when I feel honored when a client comes back to us to get treatment or to get some of our resources we have. But what I notice is when staff are burnt out about that client or just really, really have no energy left, it is the most negative reaction they have, like, oh, so and so's back again. And I'm like, what
oh,
is that? And
right.
we need to look into that a little bit more, because that to me says that our goal is to be empathetic and to be resources for individuals, but now we're reacting in a completely different way, which is now unhealthy. And
Hmm.
if me as a mental health provider don't provide a safe space for you, then you're, one, not going to come back here, and two, you're probably going to make a choice that's not good. So
Yeah. I love that safe space. I mean, realistically, as an employee, you're spending anywhere between 8 to 12 hours, sometimes more, in your workplace. And maybe your workplace is your safe place because you
yep.
don't feel comfortable at home, or something's going on at home, or you don't go outside of your bubble, if you will, because you feel safe in the work. And I think that's a valid point, is providing a safe space, not just for your own clients, but for your employees as well. And, that leads me to some of those effective strategies and resources. So obviously, coming at it from how can an employer, manager, HR person, coworker, how can we, are there some effective strategies that you've noticed that help promote mental health in the workplace?
Well, I kind of look at this first as like a 30,000-foot view. So, because there's so many layers in my organization where HR is 3 miles away. I mean, I have a building of 25 people that is on me, right? But if I look at
Mm-hmm.
it from the HR point of view, what is my expectation from them? How can they help my job, or how can they help um, my staff, right? So our HR sends out monthly emails to promote the employee assistance program. Just
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's constantly in someone's mind that there are resources. Therefore, when a manager has a staff member who has an issue, um, the first thing that pops in their head is like, oh, the EAP, the employee assistance. Let's see if they can get connected to that. And so that's a big deal, right? And it's a little email that's just like, hey, remember we have EAP.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out. Here's all the things that are offered through that, and your family members can take part in it as well. Just knowing that information. There's wellness apps as well. So our HR did got in touch with or took part in what's called Better You, which is a wellness app. And through that app, you can win prizes and discounts to
Oh.
things. And so they promote that all the time. And so that's pretty cool. And so that's a big 30,000-foot view of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you as an HR professional have some flexibility in helping senior management realize that flexibility in your workday, in a staff's workday, and promoting that, like, what does that look like? Do they come in an hour earlier because now they have to get their kid off the bus, so their day starts at 7 as opposed to their day starting at 8? So you're allowing for that. I think COVID kind of created that for everybody. It's like we need to have more
100%.
flexibility for people if they have to go out for the day. A lot of my staff, it's great, have therapists, and because I believe you should, and they'll have therapy appointments once a week, whether they're virtual or they're out of the office, and they'll go do that because I also have
Yeah.
people that are in recovery in my building. And so we need to be healthy, right? So, if you as an HR professional can advocate for that with senior management, one of the other advocate things I would love for people to start doing is advocating that vacation time or PTO time can be used for mental health days. Like, I need a
Yeah.
mental health day. I'm not sick. I'm not coughing. I think what happens is, like, when we realize that we need that day, then we're afraid to, like, maybe post anything on social media because we took the day off. But making it a big deal that, like, I took a mental health day, and guess what? I posted on Strava that I did a 6-mile run that day in the middle of the day because I'm taking care of myself and I totally needed that. And so, making that stigma of, like, yes, it's okay to call out because you just need a day. I just need a day,
Absolutely.
as
I
opposed to
think
I
that
gotta
goes,
be sick.
well, and I think that goes to, you just said it, the stigma, right? Or there's people make fun of the fact, make fun, or it's always looked at as bad as saying, I need a mental health day. I mean, quite honestly, we all need a mental health day, give
Right.
or take. And it's better than calling out dead. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
right. Yeah, let's not do that. That's not a good
yeah,
way. Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I've seen kind of an uptick in how mental health impacts physical health. I've
Yes.
seen employees, I've had managers at other organizations that have reached out to me and said, I have an employee that's struggling with their physical health. They recently had a heart attack. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to make sure that we are you as a manager are taking good care of your employees and being flexible. I think therapy is always a good idea. I think everyone should see a therapist, male, female. I think it doesn't matter. There's been such a stigma around seeking therapy or any type of even medication that helps, with ADHD or depression or anxiety. And I think that and people have asked me, and I've point blank said, yeah, I am on Lexapro. I have really big problems with anxiety and have since I was young, and was diagnosed a little bit later in life with severe anxiety. I never really went through the depression piece of it, but definitely have suffered from huge bouts of paralyzing anxiety and some panic attacks. And I share that. And I share that because I want people to understand that I look perfectly normal on the, well, I don't know, give or take.
I don't know
I
about
look
that.
perfectly
Do I have
normal.
to pipe in?
I know my sister might tell you all otherwise, but from the inside or from the outside looking in, you probably wouldn't know that I have a mental, I have a mental issue, a panic, anxiety that all falls under mental health. And I share that with anybody and everybody that asks, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Does that make people think I'm crazy? I don't, honestly, I don't care. If I can help one person realize that it's okay to not be okay 100% of the time, then I really truly feel like I'm doing my job, not only as a manager because I manage staff, as a consultant because I consult with managers, as a human resources professional, and even just as a human being. I think that compassion starts with you, quite honestly.
Well,
So I love that mental health piece of it.
yeah, I also wanted to add it. So I told you like 30,000 foot view, but then like I bring it into my office. Like, what does that look like? And how do I
Yeah.
promote client or I call clients it's staff care there? And it's little things, and it really is the little things that add up. So like having a staff day to celebrate where we take the afternoon off and we go play games and have a picnic at a park, and like it's to celebrate staff. And at that, we are the most competitive place around because we have trophies for cornhole, we have trophies for balloon toss. I mean, but we value it, and then it's on display when you come into everybody's office or their cubicle or wherever. It's like, look what I earned. And you have bragging rights. And so doing those, and then we do a half day in December as well to do what we call a holiday party where we play games and do stuff. But then we also do other things like monthly activities where we have kudos cards where we celebrate each other, where someone has written a card about what somebody did to help them, and it's read to everybody and shared.
Oh, that's neat.
And during November, we do gratitude month where we write on little paper turkeys, what we're grateful for each other, and we put them on their doors and their spaces. And I have people that have been here we've been doing it for about 4 years, and they'll pull out their old ones and stick them on their door, and then they'll get their new ones. And it's just really great to do stuff like that. And then I give away stupid little gifts, but they're fun, fairly inexpensive, like a pin, and it says, you are stupendous. And Pinterest has great ideas. For today I gave away you deserve brownie points, and I gave them brownies, and they're all just like, I love these things. And it doesn't cost a lot, but it makes a huge impression, and it makes a different atmosphere. We've had multiple people from within Riverbend come over to our organization, to Choices, and they're like, it's a different atmosphere around here. And I'm like, yeah, we love each other. I mean, we are a family. We check on each other. It's hard work we do. We have lost more clients this year to substance use, overdose, and other parts of the agency don't lose people on a constant basis. So we just come together and try to be like, okay, how do we help each other? So it's hard work, but we love it for some odd reason. I don't know, but I mean, I just think reinforcing that the staff are important, and I don't do the work. My staff does the work, and I'm here to assist them to help make their jobs easier. And I feel like that's what HR really is to help make their jobs easier, because the frontline staff dealing with what they deal with. Yes, I know my world's a little bit different than your world, but everybody deals with irate clients or people that are upset or just having to do routine stuff that just becomes monotonous. I mean, there's always some sort of stressor in someone's job that starts to eat away at you.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. 100%. I love the small things that you brought up. I actually had an employee that was in my office earlier this week, and I guess last week actually, and basically said, I had one of the coolest things happen to me today. And I'm like, oh, what is that? And he said, the CEO came by and told me thank you for doing a good job. Like, he acknowledged the fact that it's been a tough week, And he told me, thank you. And he said, that is just the best way to end what a crazy crap show week this has been. And I just thought, wow, that probably took the CEO less than 17 seconds to swing by and say that. But this guy now is going into his weekend on a high after what could have been, probably just a really low part, because there's a lot of stress in the work that he does. And just saying thank you goes a long ways. And I love the gratitude cards. I love the turkey cards. I think that you and I do this on Facebook, but there's this app Positively
Present.
I can't even think. Present.
Positively
Thank you.
present.
Positively Present. Just a shout out to them. If you follow them on Instagram, they do some great stuff. But they have this November gratitude challenge, and each day is something different. And I love that because it's just a thankful reminder of kind of just personally what I do. And I've challenged people throughout the building when they've had a down day, or they've come in just kind of with a frumpy look or a sad look or a frustrated look. I'm like, okay, let's talk about some gratitude. It doesn't even have to be something super something super huge. It can be something small that, like, you made it to work on a quarter tank of gas.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is something I have practiced for years and years. Is I have this journal, and I know now I'm getting to mental health therapy, but I have this little journal that I write 3 things I'm grateful for every day, and it cannot be the same thing every week, like every day.
Oh
So
yeah.
for the whole week, and I can reuse them the next week, but it really makes you look at the small things and appreciate the small things. And so I try to pass that on to staff. Like, it is the small things. It is the saying hello, or, how was your day? How was your evening? That type of thing that really help clients or help staff. Oh my goodness. I'm just
Yeah,
talking
I
about
love it.
clients all
No.
the time.
It's okay because I do the same thing. I'll talk about employees, or I'll talk about HR, I'll talk about managers. I just kind of interchange them because I am a manager, and you are a manager in a very, really tough field. And so I thought you had some great, tremendous insight on that. Obviously, prevention strategies include promoting a positive work environment, which is a lot about what you just talked about, encouraging some work-life balance, which is also, you talked about flexibility. I'm like, listen, if you are work-life balanced, that means if you're perfectly balanced, that means nothing else can happen. And so honestly, I don't think there's ever a true work-life balance. I think it's just like figuring out the tipping of the scale at the time to the point that you're not falling off of it. So,
Well,
go ahead.
I just want to interrupt you because I just had someone in my office, and she was like, and this and this and this. And I'm like, what I see is you need to give yourself some grace. You need
Oh, yeah.
to not be so hard on yourself, and realize that
Mm,
you've been in this job for 2 months, and you're expecting all this to happen, and you're putting these huge expectations on yourself, but you're not giving yourself any grace to get it done. And so
yeah.
just take a breath. I'm not expecting that. You're expecting
Thanks.
that.
Yeah, sometimes we put our own pressure on ourselves that creates our own mental health issues. That's for
Right.
sure. I think there's opportunities to provide training on stress management, resilience, and really utilizing your employee assistance program if you have one available. If not, therapy, always an option. I know that there's some online apps that you can take advantage of. I just started a mindfulness app that I get a mindfulness thought every morning before I get out of bed. It's like my alarm that wakes me up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to be in a good mindset. So how do you know if your workplace is facing mental health issues? Well, I created a really short quiz. It's like a 10-question quiz that you can take just to evaluate your workplace. I'll drop it in the show notes, and you can utilize it. And it breaks down kind of on a scale of 1 to 10 how your workplace is able to, if your workplace is a mental stable or it has some work to do. One thing that rings true as leaders of an organization, and Shanna demonstrated that, is that you definitely play a pivotal role in shaping the culture environment of a workplace. She mentioned the fact that people come over to her workplace and they even say it's a completely different workplace than other locations. I would say the same rings true. Leaders should model that healthy behavior, but I also think it's okay, and I said it's okay to not be okay. Remind yourself that taking breaks and delegating tasks, Shanna even said that her employees do the work, and maintaining a positive outlook is what helps keep your employees engaged and promotes a good solid mental health workplace and initiatives. Anything else, Shanna, you want to wrap up, or anything,
Oh gosh.
a couple of
I feel
points
like
that
I could talk about this forever because it's my passion and it's what I've been doing forever. And I'm thankful that you allowed me the opportunity to talk about it. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2 eventually, but I think
yeah.
it's really treating people like you want to be treated. And if you
Mm-hmm.
do that, your workplace is going to reflect that, and your staff is going to be happy. If you want to be celebrated, then start the celebration.
I love that. Start the celebration, and it doesn't have to be big. So, well, as we wrap up this issue on mental health, I want to leave you with these thoughts. Mental health is an integral part of an overall well-being of your organization, and the impact extends far beyond the individual. As I started the show talking about how it impacts your culture and engagement, by prioritizing mental health awareness and fostering a supportive work environment, organizations can actually reap the rewards. It creates a happier, more productive workforce. And remember, a mentally healthy workplace is a thriving workplace, and one where people want to continue your company's mission and job. I want to thank my amazing guest and, sister. I'm very fortunate, Shanna, for your valuable insight and thoughts on mental health. Obviously, it is her passion. I love that. You can feed off of that. And I agree. We probably need to do a part 2 on this and maybe kind of dig a little bit deeper into some more strategies. If our listeners have ideas or have questions, obviously they can feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to direct you over to Shanna if you have some specific questions for her. I want to thank my workplace warrior friends for tuning into another session of Dear HR Diary by Manage with Hart, providing you valuable insight you wish they taught you in management school. So stay healthy, my friends. Stay fabulous. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Shanna.
Thank you.